Hello everyone, welcome to this quick video presentation on IRIS Automated Coding System Implementation to achieve cause of deaths, highlighting on the topic IRIS Tables Database. This video presents information on IRIS, a software developed and maintained by the IRIS Institute. My name is Ms. Ankita Sangre and I am working as an IRIS IT specialist with the CDC Foundation supporting data for health initiative activities in India. I support the IRIS implementation and maintenance activities in MCGM through the Unit for Strengthening Cause of Death Data based at the Tata Memorial Center. In this quick video, I am going to explain the role of IRIS database in the IRIS Automated ICD-10 coding system. The IRIS tables database contains all the tables needed to analyze cause of death expressions. Also, the Microsoft Access is the default database deployed with the IRIS setup. Please note that the databases are provided by IRIS in the installation folder. There are 9 tables present in the tables database deployed by IRIS as shown. The first 3 tables, namely ICD substitution, non-consistent ICD codes, and valid ICD codes, are the meta tables which contain the technical data such as list of valid codes or code translations. These tables are necessary for correct functioning of IRIS and one should not change or delete them. In exception, one has to adapt the non-consistent ICD codes table to the requirement according to one's country. Whereas the other 6 tables, namely the dictionary, standardization 0, standardization 1, standardization 2, separators, and time interval, are the language dependent tables used for developing dictionary for coding expressions from death certificates and standardizing them. These tables are empty or only contain a small number of records when you install IRIS. To make coding and standardization work satisfactorily, one will have to add data appropriate according to their own language. Perhaps one could share the dictionary and standardization tables with users from other countries or to develop their own dictionary. To get started with the tables database, it is important to know how to load it into the IRIS. It can be achieved by traversing through the Tools, then Options, which opens the Options window, and select the Tables Database tab within it. Then select the kind of connection needed to establish, which is OLEDB/.NET connector for the Microsoft Access database. Then one needs to select the data source path by browsing to the location where the database file is placed. And lastly, click on the OK button to save the choices made. Now let's see how to access the IRIS tables database. Here one can directly access the dictionary table in read mode by clicking on the dictionary icon from the menu bar or by pressing the F10 key. One can use the Tools menu for working on the tables in the IRIS tables database and click on the Maintenance option. An input box is provided which asks for a password to enable the maintenance mode. Here the default password provided by IRIS within the IRIS user manual is capital P WD capital I RIS, that is PWD IRIS, and click on the OK button. Please note that one can choose the password of choice for IRIS maintenance mode using the Options settings in the Coding tab, as already discussed in the other videos. Moving on, we will discuss the first IRIS tables database, namely the IRIS substitution table. It contains only a list of created codes since version 5. IRIS needs this list for selection of right created code if user do not use created codes in the dictionary. Created codes are subdivision of the ICD-10 WHO code that do not exist in the international version of ICD-10 WHO. Similarly, if the dictionary contains the ICD-10 WHO code and not the created code subdivision, the record is rejected for manual review, and the coder has to select which one of the created codes to use. One can avoid such requests of additional information and speed up the coding by using created codes in the dictionary. Next, we look into detail the ICD substitution table attributes. Here, this table contains no primary key as such, cause the ICD in and ICD out fields kind of have repeated values. The ICD in field contains codes to be substituted. The ICD out one field contains ICD-10 WHO code to be used instead of ICD in, which is mandatory. Then in the type field, the values here are either the text US created for the selection of US created codes or the text before for substitution made before all other processing. The prompt field is used to differentiate between coding alternatives. The year start field specifies the coding year from which the entry is used. The year end field specifies the coding year up to and including which the entry can be used. The comments field is used for the tree text. And lastly, the date in, date out, and user in, user out are the common attributes which gets their values from the system for all the tables. Now we'll look into detail the next IRIS tables database, namely the non-consistent ICD codes table, also known as NCIC. This table contains codes which are limited in their use according to sex, age, rare diseases, or are invalid for underlying cause and states the restrictions that apply to each code. If IRIS encounters an ICD-10 WHO code that is present in the table and the other conditions specified in the table are met, IRIS displays an error message. As disease patterns vary considerably from region to region, only a basic set of such restrictions are included in the non-consistent ICD codes table at the installation. One has to adapt the non-consistent ICD codes table to the requirements of one country or region. For the non-consistent ICD codes table, the NCIC browser and editor, the table attributes are as follows. The NCIC ICD field is the primary key containing auto-generated numbers to identify the records. The ICD field contains the ICD-10 WHO code. If the code range, it would be the first code in the range. Nextly, the ICD-2 field contains the ICD-10 WHO code. If a code ranges, it would be the last code in the range. Inconsistent for field specifies inconsistency of the code by using capital letter initials representation. The corresponding reasons are as shown. U for underlying cause only, that is UC. M for multiple causes only, that is MC. And A for both the underlying and multiple causes, that is UC and MC. I for injury, which is mainly for the main injury field. The sex field specifies whether the code can be used for particular sex or both using representations as M for male, F for female, and I for irrelevant, meaning the either can be applicable. Nextly, the sex consistencies and age consistency fields respectively specify whether they are C for compulsory, M for maybe, that is used for exceptional cases, or I for irrelevant. Lower age limit and upper age limit column form range of values acceptable age-wise for particular code, with age ranging from 0 days to 124 years as shown in the ranges. Here, 999 is used in both the columns if age is irrelevant. Nextly, the rare disease field is checked if represented by Y as yes, if the particular disease is very unusual in one's country, and unchecked, that is N for no. Nextly, the underlying cause use field. This field specifies if the particular code can be used as underlying cause of death or not, represented as yes as Y, no as N, and maybe as M. Lastly, the national extension field. It is set to yes for codes that are invalid internationally. Coming to the next table in IRIS tables database is the valid ICD codes table. It contains a list of ICD-10 WHO codes which can be used when coding with IRIS and the properties pertaining to each code. IRIS uses only valid ICD-10 WHO codes and created codes. Furthermore, this table contains the ICD-10 WHO label names. It is allowed to translate the label name to your language and to change the label name for the emergency codes. Please note, if you use national codes, you have to add them to this table. In the valid ICD codes table attributes, mainly ICD field is set as primary key, specifying the unique ICD-10 WHO codes, and the next field label is its official ICD-10 WHO code label, which can be translated into local language by user. Coming to the next table in IRIS tables database is the dictionary table. The dictionary table is used to assign ICD-10 WHO codes to text entered in the diagnosis text field. It is not needed in code-only mode, but is mandatory in the text entry mode. You can create your own dictionary and standardization in your own language. The dictionary table has no primary key. The diagnosis text and the ICD-1 are indexed. Any IRIS interface user can search for the diagnosis text used in dictionary using the search button, and is presented with list of matching text results. Regarding the dictionary table attributes, the fields diagnosis text with the literal diagnosis text and the field ICD-1 with corresponding ICD-10 WHO code together perform indexing for the table. The ICD-C field is used for the special IRIS-defined codes, connected codes, that provide additional information needed to achieve the correct multiple and/or underlying cause. ICD-2, ICD-3 field are optional fields used to represent the second and third ICD-10 WHO code corresponding to the diagnosis text. Next is the Muse flags field. This field is used to add a very specific part of information from the text on the death certificate to the assigned ICD-10 code. Lastly, the active field. implies empty if the record are not active, else is set to 1 by user. Coming to the last set of tables in IRIS tables database, namely standardization 0, standardization 1, and standardization 2, separators, time intervals. Here, standardization is very useful since text entry is easier as it reduces the size of the dictionary and eventually results in a more powerful system. They are not used in code-only mode and are not mandatory in data entry mode. The separators table has exactly the same structure as the standardization table. A minimum set of separator expressions are provided when you install IRIS. The time intervals table is exactly the same as the structure of the standardization table. The table attributes of the standardization 0, standardization 1, standardization 2, separators and time intervals tables are all the same, where the main key representing records with same main key to form a group and the field rank used to make a distinction or order between records in the same group in combination form the unique primary keys. The field filter in is used to represent filter applied to the text using regular expression, whereas the field filter out is used to represent the output format if filter in succeeds. Also, it can be used for muse flags. Lastly, to use the tables within the IRIS tables database, one has to use the Tools menu, and to reflect the changes made within them, click on the Reload Table options in it. Please note you can restart the IRIS application to reflect on the changes done on these tables. The information presented in this video comes mainly from the IRIS website that is available on the link presented on this slide. Please consider watching at the website for further information on IRIS, how it is maintained, the countries implementing IRIS, and engaged in the core group, and any other questions you may have. Information presented in the video on WHO ICD-10 comes from the WHO ICD website that is available on the link presented on the slide. Also, please consider looking at the website for more information on ICD-10 and ICD-11 and any other questions you might have about the various versions of this mortality classification systems. I hope you found the short video on IRIS helpful and hope you consider watching the other IRIS and informational videos we have developed and posted on the YouTube channel for the Unit for Strengthening Cause of Death data. Please stay tuned for the further videos on IRIS implementation. Thank you.